So this is the truth in my right hand. And in order to get there, you have to cross this chasm for which for many people, it's very difficult because you don't know all the details. You don't know how to get into the weeds of things, or you're being told a lot of false information and you simply cannot bridge this gap. The same happened with the 2020 election. The same happens with the vaccine, just various things across the world. And a lot of people, they anchor off what they first hear and what the majority wants to believe. And so this is what bandwagon effect, this is what the whole of society operates under, because they don't want to be in the minority. They don't want to be in a group that if it is fringe, if it sounds conspiracy, if it sounds like it's absurd, I don't want to associate with this group. And so there's all kinds of psychological concepts that people cannot get over or understand or be aware of in order to bridge the gap to get to the truth. And the same has been true for a lot of things that are happening in society. And so this is where a lot of those that are conspiracy theory, or they talk about what the Lord showed them and all this stuff, they're written off as crazy. But if you look into what's happening, this week has been a bombshell with regards to the election stuff and even progress on the vaccine front. And so I'm going to show you a couple of clips and just let you see a glimpse of what's happening. And a lot of the news is not covering this stuff because what they really want to do is they want to take Trump down, and they do not want to see him at the ballot box. They don't want to see him win the election because, again, I've said before, we're in a big war and we are in a fight of good versus evil, the likes of which that we've never, ever will see again or that we've ever seen before. And so this is happening in real time. And so I'm going to show you what's really going on, because you can believe things at surface level. You can believe that there's more that meets the eye. This is audience 2 people, or you can believe, and this is, again, more complicated, but audience 3 people, they will see this as part of the show. This is part of the Great Awakening process. And whether you want to say in some sense, some of these things are manufactured or acted, scripted, you can see it that way. But what's clear is that more of people in audience 1 and in even audience 2, they're waking up to the fact that this is true. And what he said about the 2020 elections, and just think about this, just a couple years ago, you were censored, you were banned. I was banned for even talking about this stuff. You were banned if you talked about the elections and it being stolen and all this fraud. You were written off as this crazy person. But really, what's happened, what's coming out now, are details. And so this is what I want to show you quickly today. And so the first thing you have to understand is that this whole Trump stuff with the trial and this crazy thing, this is basically what he calls a witch hunt, right? So again, do not fall prey to the fact that the media coverage and all the headlines are talking about, oh, he's crazy, guilty, and all this stuff. This is a classic smear campaign. This is a classic, they're using things, and this is what Greg Jarrett said, and Trump retweeted this. His case is a partisan witch hunt, a trial in search of an imaginary crime. It can't be found because it doesn't exist. It's not a criminal offense to conceal a legal act. You can't unlawfully influence an election after the election. The prosecution's legal theory makes no sense. The case against Trump has been on life support since the moment DA Alvin Bragg engineered the indictment. A fair and competent judge would have long ago ordered the DA to pull the plug on his brain-dead case. And again, I'm not going to go into the details of what this means and the case stuff, but if you're following it and you're seeing the headlines, again, the same thing has happened over the last, during the 4 years of his presidency and even the last 4 years during, quote unquote, this Biden regime. And so you have to realize that, again, you don't want to go with the crowd. And again, it's not the crowd that's believing this stuff anymore. A lot of people are waking up, they're seeing and realizing this really is a witch hunt. I just had a conversation with somebody the other day and they're like, oh, can you believe, what happened with Trump and this stuff? Is it true? And I'm like, bro, this is literally a witch hunt. I don't fall prey to everything that has happened, even since the Russia hoax and the election, the Russian election interference and all that stuff, which was, again, a witch hunt to smear the name of Trump. And this is what you have to realize. All of this imaginary crime stuff, this sexual, whatever, stuff that's happening, this is all fake stuff that they're trying to conjure up. The same has happened with Jesus Christ. And again, I'm not trying to compare two people here. Jesus was perfect, and yet people came out and told him, or told the people that, oh, look, he did this crime or that crime, and made up false testimony. The Bible talks about this stuff. If you stand up for righteousness, you will have people that literally conjure up things against your name. And so you have to believe this is the case for people that are standing for righteousness. Now let's look at what the Georgia State Election Board has concluded this week, that there was a violation of Georgia election law. And this whole thing you can find on YouTube or anywhere, but the media, again, is not covering the stuff. So they have literally stolen the election, and people still don't believe it because it's in the minority. But you have to realize that the truth is the truth. And this has been covered in some sense over the last couple of years or 4 years, but people just don't want to believe it, or they think because there's no action taken to deal with it, that it must not be true. But again, there's an operation going on. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So let me show you a couple of clips on this.
Does the investigation confirm that there are missing ballot images?
Yes.
Yes. Do you know why 380,761 ballot images from Election Day machine count are not available?
We subpoenaed Fulton County for all of their ballot images. We received approximately 518,000 ballot images.
From Election Day?
Those were for the recount.
Those are from the recount, but we have no ballot images for 380,761 ballots from Election Day, correct?
What was subpoenaed was the ballot images for the recount, because that's what this case was about, not the election day.
Does Fulton County know why there are not 380,761 ballot images from Election Day?
As with the investigators, we have not been apprised of this allegation. This is the first I'm hearing about it. I have no idea what the basis of that allegation is, and so we would have to we can't answer that at this time.
Would Fulton County agree that every vote should have a ballot image?
Contest in 2020. So you will hear a great deal during this presentation about documents such as ballot images, batches loaded reports, and tabulator tapes. And all of those documentation, they're all very important. And we expect that the counties will keep those, maintain those, and make sure that they are complete. But it's important to note that they play no role in the actual tabulation of results in an election. Again, those results are determined by the paper ballots, which we have for 2020. And the conclusion of this investigation, which we will get into the details of in a minute, is that Fulton County used improper procedures during the recount of the presidential contest in 2020. The investigation also shows that there are some duplicative ballot images in the ballot images that Fulton County provided. And this suggests that some ballots may have been scanned more than once. But what cannot be decided conclusively or confirms conclusively is whether or not those duplicative ballot images were included in the count. So we don't know for certain whether or not those were in the tabulated results, and we will get in.
If you think that maybe that's just a mistake or just a coincidence, here's the next one that shows. You can see Republican is written there, Republicans written there. This is ballot 61. This is ballot number 2, and then each one of them even has this little dot in the Fannie Willis.
Okay, and do you have more of those?
We have the entire batch. There's 62 images in here total, and I didn't even get a chance to go through all of them. But these are the most obvious ones where it's clear that it's the same. This one's got the little tail on the side.
And so what happened? So do you know the numbers of these total batches?
I don't remember what the totals were when the batches. I don't think they weren't disparate. They were fairly close. But the simple fact that they occurred.
So if you see that little bubble right there, this is one image. Here's another image.
Exactly.
See, exact same. And the batch number, was it 5162?
Also, scanner 5162.
Okay, scanner.
Batch number 235, image number 92, matches the same scanner 5162, batch 234, image 33.
So there you have it. Duplicate ballots. The entire batch is scanned several times.
So what we're looking at, Heather and Steve, are tally sheets that were the auditors for the Georgia audit that was conducted on November and 14th and 15th in Fulton County. They filled these out as they counted the ballots. And typically you would see 37 to 43, 60 to 1 to 48, something like that. But here we have tally sheets that are 100 to nothing for ballots. So somebody filled this out. But it's not just one of these. We have 7 of these, and we're going to kind of scroll through and show you these live. There's another one, 100 to nothing. The actual counts of these are like 59-42 in terms of ballot images. Here's one that's 150 to nothing.
Yeah, so basically the people that were doing the audit would count the batches and then write in fraudulent numbers because they have the corresponding images for these batches and they do not match these sheets. So whoever was doing them commit fraud. And what I had asked him in the press conference is, are these sheets signed by the person that doing them? And apparently they are, Steve. And not only that, the Secretary of State has the information. These sheets that they got, it's redacted. So they can't determine who was doing this, but we know that whoever did commit fraud. Now I want to switch over to the images of the ballots, right? These ballot images that they obtained through their lawsuit that are the official images from the Dominion machines, 2 different ballots right here, right? This is the ballot number, the ballot number here, different from here, but as you can see, it's the exact same markings, Steve, on each one. And Garland, tell me, how many of these did you guys find?
Well, there are a total of duplicate reporting of over 4,000. We're still looking at to find out how many of these are duplicate scanned.
This spreadsheet behind here has about 40,000 line items, right? That compares the numbers from the original election to the recount. The error rate on that, they said, was 59.5%. Let that sink in.
Yeah, actually 59.
Okay, hang over.
7 to be exact.
Now I'd like to speak directly to those who have fought factually, respectfully, and relentlessly for the truth over the last 3 years. As of 4/10/24, I got another one of these certified letters from the state election board. Every time I get one of those letters, my wife sets it on my desk and she says, "You got another one of those certified letters. I hope you're not being indicted this time." But anyways, as of that letter, it has now been factually proven that both the hand audit, this is really, really important, and the certified machine count, yes, the certified count, have both been found to be in violation of Georgia election law. Based on these findings, to those that have fought factually, respectfully, and relentlessly, I'll close with one word: vindicated.
Thank you, Joe.
When the auditors came in and they did a recount of the recount. They didn't look at the actual stuff, and they're not showing us what's really going on with the 2020 election stuff. And you heard it straight from them. And if that's the case, then you literally have, again, as Trump has been saying, all of these paper ballots, the imaging, and you have what you saw there with duplicate ballots, the rescanning these things. But all of the stuff that you have to look at, you look at in detail. Otherwise, if you read a headline and you don't see the majority believing it, then you're just going to brush it off as, oh, that must be false. The 2020 election was not stolen. And this is the idea that a lot of people are trying to plant in the American brain. But because people are waking up and they're seeing it, they're realizing, okay, maybe there is something here. And cases like this, you're seeing it even years later. It's not like, oh, whoops, let's stop being a sore loser and just move on with the elections. Again, as we're in 2024 and we've moved from a place of more acceptance, more growth, more people realizing that this thing was stolen. And so this is where I want to share a couple of other things. First, the Georgia governor, Brian Kemp. Again, you can say what you want about this guy, and there's a lot going on. Who knows if he's handcuffed and he's being told what to do. But 3 huge election integrity bills were passed this past week. And among the 3 of them, it requires watermarked ballots. It requires election workers to be U.S. citizens. It requires changes the rules for mass voter challenges and eliminates the computer QR codes from ballots. So many things, but really what this is it's good news for election integrity. And so, again, we know a lot of us have been talking about this guy, Brian Kemp, and the enemy and all that stuff. But I don't know why this is happening now. He's probably being strong-armed and other things, but it's being done for a reason. Now, Professor Patriot put this out, and he said it well. And I've been saying this for a while as well. But this would not have happened, right? Meaning the Great Awakening, in part, if Trump did not allow this to happen and Biden to do his part in waking people up, right? He says, for those of you who are still PO'd about 2020, that you can't look at 2024, let me prosplain why 2020 is not worth nading over. I have absolute conviction in the notion that Trump watched 2020 happen and that this 4 years of showing them, quote unquote, showing them was needed as a private citizen or a quote unquote private citizen. Trump has been much more effective at waking people, as has Biden, for his part. None of this could have happened if 2020 had not gone the other way. We would have spent 4 years, right, watching Trump get pounded by all the forces that hampered his first term, again, with the media and everybody else. And when it was over, the creeps would have just essentially waited it out. The media would have still been an effective propaganda machine. The deep state would still have had control of hearts and minds. Term 2 would have been a crap show for Trump. 2020 was part and parcel of what was required. Trump came out to the podium around 2 a.m. election night 2020 and described exactly what was going on. And he famously said, quote, "We caught them all," shortly after, and predicted the storm. Think if we were sitting here in 2024 with Trump about to leave office with no chance to return and the machine was nearly as healthy as ever. All the Dem voting blocs were still entrenched and the globalists were about to have free reign. Instead, we are looking at a wrecked and demoralized machine with their narratives dropping faster than somebody's small clothes at a black tie event. A revived Trump campaign with massive numbers of Dem voters switching sides in a world that has moved massively in the direction of stomping out the Western deep state. I'm happy 2020 went the way it did. It had to be this way. This is just the tip of the iceberg. More is being exposed. And let me tell you that the White Hats are in control. This whole thing is carefully planned in some sense. Yes, there are outliers. Yes, there are people that are going to do things and we don't know. We have to expose, continue to unearth things, but it's going in the direction that they had hoped. And the White Hats, the good guys, are seeing it play out as. And so again, be encouraged. It's not over yet. There's more to come, but it's a good time. It's a good time to be alive. It's a good time to be a Christian, a patriot, whatever you want to call it. Also, it's a good time to be a Christian, especially a believer, because you're doing righteous, godly things, and other people slowly will be brought in. They'll be brought to the fold. And it's breaking not only political, social boundaries, but it's also getting people to realize the idea of how to view people far away, right? Looking at them in love and in grace, to break barriers, to go beyond the social norms of mass group think and going with the majority, the bandwagon effect. It's more than that, because you're standing up for what is truth. And so, as I said in the beginning, the truth is here, but it just takes people all over to get to what this truth is. We've been saying the truth for a very long time. It's not like 4 years later, 6 years later, like, whoops, we got it wrong. It's progressing towards understanding and accepting this truth more and more, because again, we're seeing this play out right before our very eyes. And so with that, I want to show you a quick video of a person that is talking about accepting the idea of the vax stuff, everything that has happened. And again, it's conspiracy to many people and they don't want to believe it, but you have to break the idea that because you're a doctor or a nurse and you have to stand for these things, you don't have to do that. You stand for truth. You don't have to stand for something that you believed, and you, because of your pride or your stance, you can switch directions. You can switch your idea and said, you know what, I was tricked in the beginning, but now I see the truth. So let's watch this quick video and I'm just going to end it after that.
So you took the first Moderna shot at CVS Pharmacy. Did they ask you any history about, had you had any allergic reactions to shots in previous times? Did they do anything or warn you of any potential side effects?
There was absolutely no informed consent going into this. I remember signing something, a very thick packet that I kind of skimmed through. And I remember hearing them say, you know, vaccine companies are not liable if anything happens to you, but you need to get it because it's safe and effective. So I signed it. And they didn't ask me any medical history at all. And when he injected me with the first shot, it coursed through my arm like it just ripped through my arm, and I felt like something was very wrong, and it felt horrible. And I looked at him jokingly and said, "What's in that? Am I going to turn into the Hulk?" You know? And he laughs and he's like, but just stick around for 15 minutes. And, and what haunts me to this day is that the people that I was sticking around with that had the same lot number as me, 9 of them died, 51 disabilities, 551 adverse reactions. I mean, the list goes on. Pretty wild. Yeah.
And this was the first Moderna, but you went back and got another Moderna. Did you get sick between the first and second Moderna at all?
So after my first Moderna shot, 3 days later, I woke up with a muscle spasm that didn't leave my body. And I'm a dancer, so I know my body very well. And I did every modality I could. Acupuncture, chiropractor, massage, and nothing would get it out. So after 2 weeks, I was really worried because it was burning and I had brain fog and my body was just like starting to ache. So I went to the hospital and I mentioned I had the vaccine, but they didn't really say any of these issues were stemming from that. So they did a CAT scan, blood work, all of these things, and nothing indicated anything. So they sent me home with antibiotics. And as someone who believed in vaccines, right, you want to be fully immune to this deadly, deadly virus. So I, as an American citizen who abides by the law, went and got the second shot. And that's what completely did me in. And it's embarrassing to look back on that. But I was so fully entranced by the psyops they put us under. I thought I was doing the right thing. So
you went back and took your second one. Did you was it back at CVS again?
I went back to CVS again and got that second shot. The same old place that got me sick to begin with.
Now, did they ask you if it had any reaction to the first one? Did they go through anything at all with you?
It's funny when I think back, they absolutely did not ask if I had a first reaction to the first shot. They absolutely did not ask if I had a reaction to the first shot. That's very clear. I don't think they even knew to even ask that.